Welcome to a special edition of Legal AF. The American Civil Liberties Union has been on our channel for a long time, reporting about cases that they're handling in the courtrooms around America on matters that matter to our audience about civil rights and civil liberties. But there's an entirely other department of the American Civil Liberties Union that handles voter education and goes into states that could be toss-up states, a place like Virginia or the races in Pennsylvania, even those at the Pennsylvania Supreme Court level, and tried to educate the constituents there about issues that matter to them and where the different candidates stand so they can make a vote. I think it's a very fascinating aspect of what the ACLU does as nonpartisan and not endorsing anybody, but educating them. And I can't think of a better person to join us to talk about all these things than Dierdre Schifeling, who is the Chief Political and Advocacy Officer for the American Civil Liberties Union and runs their political advocacy department. So let's bring in Dierdre. Hi, Dierdre.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. What a fascinating world within the American Civil Liberties Union that you operate, and something I'm sure my audience is not that familiar with. We talk a lot about the cases and the success that the ACLU has had, along with other public interest groups, along with the attorneys general, fighting the fight, kind of replacing our Department of Justice because they've gone AWOL, especially when it comes to civil rights and civil liberties. But talk about this voter education thing, how it's nonpartisan, you're not endorsing, but you are influencing the outcome of races. Tell our audience all about that.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here to share. So the ACLU has actually only had a voter education program since 2018. So it is relatively recent. And just a couple of years ago, we actually formed a PAC for the first time, a voter education PAC. The ACLU is nonpartisan. And we don't tell voters who to vote for, but we do give voters very clear information on the different candidates' positions on civil rights, civil liberties issues, mainly reproductive rights. Reproductive rights and voting rights have been two major issues that we've done a lot of voter communication on because they are issues that voters really care about. And they're issues that the ACLU is perfectly positioned to communicate about. One thing the ACLU has is a very strong brand. And that brand is sort of like a good housekeeping seal of approval for the voters that we're communicating with, to know that the information that we're giving them is legitimate, is accurate, is straightforward. So we really lean into that kind of communication style.
And do you also, I mean, this is an era of migrant and immigration abuse by the Trump administration. I'll say it. People know I'm partisan, not nonpartisan. Are you also, is that also now, because of the administration that's currently in office, are you also focused on those things when it comes to voter education?
We do some communication with voters about the actions of ICE and where candidates stand on some of those issues, although it really depends on the level of the ballot. So for instance, in Pennsylvania, we were communicating with voters on state Supreme Court judges. There were 3 that were up for retention elections, and we needed to communicate with voters about, first of all, what are state Supreme Court retention elections to begin with, and then the records of the candidates on the issues that they have ruled on, particularly reproductive rights and voting rights. Those were the salient issues in that race that voters really cared about. And they overwhelmingly won retention elections, more than 60% of the vote. And reproductive rights was the top issue in those elections. So it really depends on what level of the ballot you're talking about and what the powers are of the elected official.
Well, let's stay in Pennsylvania for a minute, because this is something new to people. They often see judges on ballots and they're, oh, who are these judges and what am I supposed to do about them? Depending upon the state, it could be every 6 years, could be every 10 years, as it was in Pennsylvania. You vote thumb up or thumb down on the person that's occupying that chair. unless they time out because of senior status. And this is important in a place like Pennsylvania because the Democrats just got control of a majority of the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania just a few years ago, right?
That's right. That's right. And with that control, they have been able to, I mean, they are nonpartisan elections. So the pro-civil liberties majority has control and has been able to protect reproductive rights and protect voting rights very effectively. Another state where this has been so critical is Wisconsin. Wisconsin has state Supreme Court races literally every year. There is a justice up. There will be a justice up this coming year. The elections are in April. And, you know, a couple years ago, this was a $50 million knockdown, drag out fight. Last year, it was $125 million.
Let's stop right there. $125 million went into who is going to quote unquote control one seat. And it went Democrat, nonpartisan Democrat.
It went to the pro-civil rights, civil liberties person.
Oh,
yes.
There you are. Did the ACLU work on that?
Yes, we did.
You did. All right. I have a new vocabulary word or a concept that I picked up this weekend. We were hosting in Miami a sort of a political rally, and Representative Jamie Raskin gave a fiery 20-minute speech. But he reminded, and I had to go look it up because he's so erudite. He has so much going on up there. He said that we have to reclaim, the Democratic Party has to reclaim the word democracy, because up until FDR, they rarely called themselves the Democratic Party. They called themselves the democracy. That was their brand. Talk about ACLU had a brand. The brand for the Democratic Party through Andrew Jackson, through FDR was, and you would hear speeches, and I have a list of them now that I'm going to weave into some future reporting, speeches where FDR would say, the plutocrats, want the following, but the democracy demands this. And he was referring to both the democracy and to the Democratic Party. So it's very interesting to hear you talk about the what did you refer to them as?
Pro-civil rights, civil liberties. Yeah.
I'm going to call them the democracy. Yeah, I'm going to call them the democracy. All right. So Wisconsin, we reported on that here. Big race there, $100 million. Elon Musk campaigning round the clock to try to grab ownership of the Wisconsin Supreme Court for all the reasons we talk about, like reproductive rights.
Backfired enormously.
Well, obvious, right? But you took advantage of that in the education process.
The voter education, yes.
Pennsylvania, I thought, had a high number, but not compared to that. $7 million got spent for Justice Christine Donahue, Kevin Dougherty, and the third one, whose names escape me right now. But I thought look, I'm in a political world. I think $7 million on a retention vote for Supreme Court justice. But, you know, the other party has focused on getting control of these Supreme Court positions, right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. They have been laser focused.
Give our audience, Dierdre, an example of your the education. Like, what does it look like? Like, is it ads? Is it mailers? And what does it say? Like, what gives them that education or that information?
Yeah. So a lot of our education does happen through the mail. And the reason for that is that mail is one of the few voter education tactics that still works, that still really breaks through. It's also helpful because voters can hang on to it. And take it with them if they need to remind themselves of where the candidates are, especially candidates they haven't heard of or they're not familiar with. We also do digital ads. We also do radio ads. It really just depends on which voters we need to reach in a given state. And we actually have a model that we call the ACLU sway. And those are voters who are swing voters, who are influenced by the ACLU. The ACLU is a brand that they listen to, that they care about. So we really try to focus on those voters who we think we are uniquely positioned to reach because they know us, they have a relationship with us, and communicate the information in a very straightforward way. I mean, these mail pieces are simple, they're short, but they are footnoted.
Yeah.
And they are very tonally, they're very straightforward, very factual. And we just base it on the person's record.
and hoping that they get out the vote, right? It's one thing to be educated and sit in your living room. It's another thing to go to the polls and
That's right.
early vote or vote on the day of the election, right?
That's right. That's right. And so one big piece of our program is volunteer driven.
Mm-hmm.
And volunteers this cycle knocked on doors. They made phone calls. They even wrote handwritten postcards, because that's another thing that kind of breaks through to get out the vote. So we're hopeful that all of that really resulted in the kind of record turnout that we saw. We saw record turnout across the board, especially in Pennsylvania.
I mean, so some of it was historic. Some of it was like the New York 20, 30-year records broken.
Yeah, exactly.
And you put a fair amount of money where your advocacy is. I think it was about $2 million of ACLU money in Virginia.
That's right.
And another
$2 million, another about $1 million in Pennsylvania. That's to reach 1.4 million voters. So between those two states, Virginia and Pennsylvania, we contacted multiple times 1.4 million voters, and I think really made a difference to the voters that we talked to.
Now, your department, your political and advocacy department, you don't go dark between now and the next special election or midterm, right? What are you doing? No, and you're not resting on the laurels of the big win up and down the ballot in Virginia or in Pennsylvania, right?
We are not. We had one great day where we celebrated, and then we got right back to work.
Right. Yeah.
So our department does a number of things. I mean, we do policy advocacy. So we spend a lot of time lobbying lawmakers to pass bills that protect rights at the state level, at the federal level. We're also right now really focused on setting up for election safeguarding. So in addition to all the voter education that we plan to do between now and the midterms in key states, we are also planning to set up the largest election safeguarding program that we've ever run.
And what will that look like?
That looks like a variety of things. One big piece of that is recruiting and training election observers to be. Are you one of them?
No, I'm going to volunteer though. I have done it. I've done like Democratic attorneys, the attorneys for the Democratic Party, and been in the room wherever I vote. But I would love, yes, and I'll lead a group.
You can sign up.
Sure.
Amazing. That would be incredible. So really getting thousands of people in the key states that we think are going to be most at risk of election subversion, election suppression happening, to be trained as election observers, to be trained at de-escalation at the polling places in case there's conflict, and to be ready to stand up and mobilize if needed afterwards.
Listen, on the escalation, last election, I flew down the one where Biden won. I flew down to Florida, and I could be outside the polls because I wasn't a registered voter inside for Florida. I was coming down from New York at the time. And I was outside my normal polling place because I lived in this area in Coral Gables at the library, which was usually very peaceful. But for this one, MAGA was out in force, and they were very abusive and aggressive. And one young woman, I still remember it to this day, one young woman she couldn't take it anymore. She crossed the line. She went over to them with their giant flags and pickup trucks. And she was Hispanic American. This was like Hispanic American. And she got into this person's face. She accidentally touched him. He pressed charges, and she got taken away in handcuffs.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Yeah. This is exactly the kind of situation that we want to be prepared for, to de-escalate, to keep people focused on the most important thing, which is voting safely, securely, and then also be ready to ensure that all ballots are counted, all votes are counted,
right.
And that the count is fair and the count is free, and that those results are respected. And I think we can't take any of that for granted. We're going to have to fight for every single stage of this election process to be fair and free. And for those people who are fairly and freely elected to actually be seated in January. I think every single piece of it is going to be a fight. And so we are getting ready for that.
Look at what they did to Representative Adelita Grijalva.
That's right. That's exactly right.
For 50 days, 45 days under some BS excuses. and then try to take advantage of that. And look how close they got a razor thin margin now.
Right.
Let's see what happens in less than a year from now. I think our audience is so encouraged and feels so much better knowing that the American Civil Liberties Union is out there fighting for them around the clock. They may also want to be involved. Talk about the ways, because we like to have a call to action whenever we bring on people from your world. Because people are like, listen, I've been a card-carrying member of the ACLU since I was in college. But a lot of people are like, they may not know the organization, or they've heard of it, but they don't know how it may just be a brand for them and not anything else. Talk about how people can get involved with the American Civil Liberties Union.
Yeah. So you can sign up to be a volunteer with us through www.aclu.org and look for People Power. So look for the People Power, sign up, be a volunteer, be an activist. Our volunteers are doing all kinds of things. They are getting trained in Know Your Rights. So when ICE shows up, having Know Your Rights cards to distribute, or around the election, knowing your rights, or protest rights. We've been deeply involved in the No Kings, big protests, and we've trained thousands and thousands of people in knowing your rights for protest. So all of those are different ways that you can get involved. We can deploy you to key states to be an election monitor, to be a volunteer to get out the vote. So yes, please come, please sign up. We will train you. We will deploy you. We need you. Come to us. Yeah.
That's right. We're going to put in the notes below, we're going to put the link that Dierdre just talked about for people, because everyone, we see it in the podcasting, in the YouTube videos that I do. We see comments like, what can we do? Getting information, talking truth to each other is the first step, right? Which is what we're doing right now.
Right.
It's like, what's the action plan, Popok? Okay. You got groups like Democracy Forward. You got groups like the American Civil Liberties Union. You've got all these groups that are out there fighting the front lines. As I say, you guys are the first responders running into the burning building of our democracy, and we need to support you and join you.
Yes. Please come join us. People together have a lot of power, and it's going to take all of us standing up and refusing to accept abuses of power, abuses of the law, and fighting for our democracy. So we need you.
Absolutely. Rob Bonta, the Attorney General from California, who's a friend of the show, has been on a number of times. He coined a great phrase that I've stolen from him with credit, which is the 3 C's: courts, crowds, and courage is what's going to.
I love that.
Right? Courts, crowds, and courage. And you guys are involved with all three of those. ACLU is CCC.
Yes, we are. I'm going to steal that too.
Yeah, good. He'll love it, by the way. I'm going to see him. I'm going to be interviewing 11 attorneys general starting tomorrow at their retreat, their conference in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Wonderful.
Put it up on the channel. So I'll let Rob know that I passed it on to I've paid it forward to the ACLU.
Yes, we're going to take it. Thank you. And thank you for shining a spotlight on the amazing attorneys general who are just doing the Lord's work.
Honestly, they're on the right side of the angels for sure. So are you, Dierdre Schifeling, who is the chief political and advocacy officer running the political advocacy department of the American Civil Liberties Union, which a lot of my audience might not have even known existed. And we find out today that it started in 2018, and so we're not late to the game. It's only been around right on time. And I'm so glad that you're here. And when you have other things to talk about that are important to our audience, please, you have an open door.
Thank you so much.
You're
really
welcome.
Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Michael Popok here on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button, help us continue to grow our pro-democracy channel. We're close to 1 million subscribers, folks. We should hit it by the holidays with your help. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.